It's great to be here. I'm super glad to be able to share the space with you guys and talk about one of my favorite things, which is when exactly will DAOs start to kick the crap out of corporations? Okay, because we are quite a ways away from that. But before I get too much into that, I want to give you guys a little bit of background about myself. A little closer. Before I get into, how exactly our DAO is going to change the world and how exactly our DAO is going to take a bite out of the corporate pie and start to actually defeat corporations, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Kyle Webster, also known as 4rgard3n. I'm from Bellingham, Washington. I am a smart contract engineer and a blockchain strategist. I currently work with Raid Guild. Raid Guild is just on the other side of Oasis Network over here, just right on this tier. And Raid Guild was the world's very first service DAO. So we are a digital cooperative of builders in the Web3 space. And we are entirely self-owned by our own members. We have never taken any venture capital. It's probably why our booth looks all crazy over there, because we aren't really here to impress people. We have a lot of, We have a lot of clout in the space. Raid Guild, this is Raid Guild's 3rd anniversary. We were born out of ETH Denver. So I'm going to get into the rest of the presentation, and what I want to talk about is this feedback that we've been gathering from seasoned DAO operators and seasoned DAO contributors. There's a lot of people that are in the DAO space who maybe haven't had this long history of deep hands-on experience with DAOs. So we gathered information, we gathered feedback from several dozen different DAO contributors. So we're going to get into that. And basically the lens that I want to talk to you guys about how we're going to look at this progression of DAOs as they get better and better is in terms of heuristics. So, that's the difficult part. We can gather real data and we can make comparisons and we can make DAOs more efficient. But the really difficult part is the stuff that's not easy to quantify. So, things like culture, things like, social glue. I like what was just being talked about, like coordination games that enable DAO teams to stay together. And like, how do we create these coordination games that glue DAO participants together? So we're going to specifically look at like strengths and weaknesses of DAOs and corporations. I'm going to have to go through this a lot faster than I thought I was because I only have 20 minutes. So, oh yes, and then the last thing is that I look at DAO tech in the context of dog food. And what dog food is it means we are DAO operators, we're DAO builders, and we build tools that we need. We don't necessarily imagine, there might be this person out there that needs this technology. We build technology because we need it. So, also later on, you guys might want to look at this video because I am not going to cover all this stuff. There's no way. We gathered this comprehensive list of DAO strengths from tons of different participants. And the core of this, like the most important strengths that DAOs come with is increased passion from contributors. And that increased passion leads to efficiencies that corporations wish they had. They wish they could unlock. People who create large amounts of value that are very technical, they're also very difficult to manage. It's, if you don't have someone with the right skill set to manage this person, they might just sit at their computer all day, every day for a year and collect a paycheck. You don't know. But the point is that when you have these high-skilled people come into DAOs and they know that what they're working on is something that they really care about, and they know that they're an owner of what they're building, they are able to build stuff so much faster than anyone would have ever believed was possible. And then some of these other really important things are DAOs are much more flexible. So for people who are talent that's hard to retain, we like being free. We like having freedom and flexibility. We like to be able to, I just recently took 70 days off work. I never told anyone. No one messaged me and was worried about my position in the DAO, and I came back to work and everyone just like, welcome back. So some of the other best things about DAOs are like lack of coercion. So the traditional corporation fulfills so many of its functions through coercion. You know, you don't show up to work, you show up to work late. You know, exactly, you know. And DAOs should not, in my opinion, DAOs can be coercive, but in my opinion, them not being coercive is a big strength. So DAOs, DAO tools, DAO mechanics should be not coercive. Wow, I'm taking way too long. I have a lot of slides. Okay, so for everyone who's ever been in a DAO, you can probably look at this list and go, holy crap, that sucks, and I've dealt with that. One of the biggest issues in DAOs is a lack of accountability. The game theory of a DAO participant is commit to everything and then only complete the stuff with the biggest reward that's the easiest. And it does not work great, let me tell you. There's no rule books, there's no established process or models, so people are just kind of like, wait, what do I do? And there's no one who can answer that question. You know, and again, there's a distinct lack of understanding of the loci of authority and control and power in a DAO. So, you know, there's no one you can go to and be like, oh, this is your fault, or like, hey, we're having a dispute. Would you please resolve this? It just doesn't sort of work that way. And then another thing that's a big problem in my mind is that the average blockchain person thinks that DAOs are hyper financial. That you know, transferable tokens that are worth X, Y dollars, that is your voice. And I personally don't believe that that's the world we want to live in. If it's just whoever has the most money has the loudest voice, then you're going to have really talented people leaving constantly. You know, that's really not the future I think that any of us want to live in. So I'm going to just gloss right over these corporation strengths and weaknesses because I only have 10 minutes left. So let's talk about dog food. Do you guys like dog food? Dog food. So I want to talk about some things that are tailor-built to address issues that DAO operators and DAO contributors face on a daily basis. And this is specifically about service, product, and venture DAOs. I'm not talking about decentralized finance DAOs, liquidity provisioning DAOs, or anything like that. Service and product DAOs, we are people that come together in a shared enterprise to build real things that you can put your hands on, real things that you can touch, and real things that you need to use or want to use, and they just bring value into your life. And that's positive sum. You know, that's what we want to build. We don't want to build these zero-sum games where it's just speculative value, and at the end of the musical chairs, you know, SBF gets extradited from the Bahamas. So how I got into the DAO space was through a DAO called Metagame, which is a completely inclusive DAO. Anyone that wants to join Metagame, you can just go to Metagame. You can just join Metagame. There's no filter on that. But eventually I landed in Raid Guild. And Raid Guild is different. It is very difficult to join Raid Guild. The cohort I joined had 130 applicants, and 5 people made it into Raid Guild. And you know, it has to be like that because Raid Guild is a decentralized collective of Web3 mercenaries, and we build products for companies and people. And if those products don't meet the expectation or they don't fortify the reputation of the DAO, then we've made a mistake. We've brought the wrong builders in. So I'm just going to start jumping around through DAO tools. I hope you guys are ready to look up the video after this. Or yeah, take pictures. I see some people pulling out their phones. You might want to take pictures of these slides. So let's talk about how we can mitigate some of the weaknesses of DAOs and how we can amplify some of their strengths. Again, we're going to skip that. So there's something called HATS protocol that Spencer is creating. And HATS protocol is designed to tokenize roles within an organization. So that helps to create a scope, a locus of authority or power and control in a DAO. So these are not just tokenized roles, they act as access control permissions for triggering smart contract function calls. So these are people who can actually take authority within a decentralized autonomous organization and do things with it. But they are still accountable to the overall voting process of the DAO. So the idea is you don't want to be voting on every single thing that a DAO does. It, trust me, does not work very well. What you want to do is vote on whether one person should have the authority to come in and be able to do things and still be accountable to the DAO itself. So this is a great tool. I'm super excited. I've already been building some integrations with it, and I'm super excited to be using it. And it has a really great synergy with the next tool I'm going to talk about. A lot of people in here have used Collab.Land. Raise your hand if you've ever used Collab.Land. Okay, over half of everyone in here. So where Collab.Land becomes a powerful tool is that it integrates with other tools like HATS protocol. HATS protocol generates NFTs. Those NFTs can now not just control the roles of the individual at smart contract level, but they actually can control the communication channels that are available to them. They can actually not automatically, but programmatically create working groups, generate working groups, where if you have the right HATS protocol token, then you are automatically built into a working group on Telegram or Discord. So, you know, really excited about Collab.Land and HATS protocol, and I can't wait to mess around with that. So let's also talk about Moloch v3. If you guys aren't familiar with Moloch DAO was one of the original non-hyper-financial DAO structures. So shares in a Moloch DAO, they're non-transferable. And frequently we use this to, well, for one, be compliant, because it's not illegal to have non-transferable tokens that represent ownership. And also, it helps to sort of reduce the hyper-financialization of the DAO itself. So it also has what we call minority protection built into it called rage quit. So anyone who ever wants to leave, they can burn their ownership tokens and take shares of other, whatever token equity, whatever loot, treasury is in the treasury. So. And the reason Moloch v3 is cool is because it has arbitrary contract execution. So I don't know if has anyone in here ever heard of governance kabuki? Governance kabuki? Nice, we got an OG in the back. So governance kabuki is where you have a token and people are like, this is our governance token. Everyone votes on what they want to have happen. And then a centralized team of people decide whether they're actually going to carry out what was voted on. Meaning if they don't want to execute the proposal, then they don't have to. And guess what? Your governance is useless. So arbitrary on-chain execution means whatever people put up and propose, whatever they vote on, it gets done. And there's no counterparty that gets to decide whether it gets done or not. Okay, you guys still with me? I'm coffeeed up. Let's go. Smart Invoice. This is another project that spun out of Raid Guild. It allows people to create simple on-chain working agreements. So that means at Raid Guild, whenever we take on clients, we build smart invoices, and the client describes the engagement with us. We codify it in this smart invoice, smart contract, and that smart contract actually handles the terms of our agreement as we prescribed it in the beginning. And it also has built-in arbitration. So that means if anyone at any time has a problem, they can freeze the invoice, and it moves into the jurisdiction of our legal engineer friends like LexDAO. Let's just keep going. So DAO House, this is a no-code DAO launching platform. They are super OGs in the space. They are working currently on integrating Moloch v3. So that means they will have this on-chain governance that has teeth. So DAO House is very customizable and it's very agnostic, which means you can build organizations for 4 people or 5 people. You can build organizations for 10,000 people. And you can sort of organize it and arrange the pieces however you want. Okay, so I just wanted to take a quick moment and talk about the history of some of the DAOs that I think are really important. So this history of DAOs starts here at ETH Denver. And it starts here at ETH Denver, I believe 5 years ago, if not 6 years ago. And with a guy who's been hanging out with us in our booth wearing a very flashy jacket named Amin Soleimani. He created the first Moloch DAO infrastructure. This was in the wake of the DAO hack. So everyone was scared of DAOs, didn't want anything to do with DAOs. And a group of people, just maybe like yourselves, set out to create a governance technology. That turned into the Moloch DAO. One of the first huge DAOs that was created with Moloch DAO was Metacartel. I highly recommend you go look at the members roster for Metacartel if you don't know who they are. The members of Metacartel have created billions of dollars of value in the blockchain industry. Then we have DAO House, which we've already talked about. Metagame, Metacartel Ventures. Raid Guild was born here at ETH Denver 3 years ago. Now we have Bankless DAO popping up. We have WGMI, which is a community management service DAO. All in all, we have about 40 or 50 service DAOs that exist, and almost all of them sort of saw what Raid Guild did and spun off. And, I personally think we'll have thousands of service DAOs within, 24 months. So I am going to have to cut the rest of I have so much more stuff, but I'm out of time. Maybe we could take some questions. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to take questions on the side over here. I really appreciate you putting up with my speed.
Thank you, Kyle. We really appreciate that.